Just give me a little bit of a background on you. Let's start with you. Give me a little background on you.
Yeah. I was a gymnast my whole life. I was a level 10 lifer. I went to level 10 in 8th grade. I did my last level 10 meet when I was 19. That's that's kind of the extent of my competitive experience. I guess the coolest thing that happened as an athlete was that I did invent a move that's in the code of points. But like many moves that are in the code of points, for some reason my name disappeared. Don't
Ah,
know why. But that was so it's I don't always like to talk about it because it got butchered so badly from its original form that when I tell you what it is, it's like, ew, why would you invent that? But it's actually the switch wolf, which when I first did it, it was I competed it at level 10 nationals in 93 or 94. I think it was 93, and it was submitted and given a C value. So if you think of it now, you're like, why the hell would that ever be a C? But when I did it the first time, it was actually a switch leap. So you had to hit 120 even on your opposite leg and then switch into the wolf. So if you can think about that, even on the floor is really tricky to get that back leg up prior to. So that's what it was supposed to be. And the fact that they rated it as a C was how I was able to get it named after me. And the cool thing, say the actual even cooler than that, was in the Olympics after that, a lot of the Russians did it on beam. So that was very surreal as a, just, I shouldn't say just, but as a JO kid, not really getting a lot of spotlight, to see that on TV at the Olympics was really cool.
oh
And
yeah.
then it just kind of went downhill and turned into this hitch kick wolf thing that is just not fun to look at. So
Oh, gotta love that.
yeah, and it's now an A. So and then so yeah, this was all in Massachusetts. I coached for a little bit and then I moved out to Los Angeles for film school. I really started exploring choreography a lot out there. I had done it kind of on the side when I was training. Was getting into theater and movement and this and that. And then when I went out to LA for film school, started getting into exploring choreography more. I did choreography for fashion shows, did some TV stuff, did a lot of live events, and was still coaching. So I ran a competitive program out in Burbank, California for 13 years, and had some nice success. Definitely grew a lot as a coach. Region 1 is no joke. It's the gymnastics out there is fantastic. There's just a lot of great coaches. There's a lot of elite programs, which just raises the level of everyone around because of that. I've had people say, they look at meet scores online and they're like, oh, the scores in, SoCal are so high. Yeah, because the gymnastics is so good. So I think that was a real gift to have to coach out there and really go, oh, okay, these are some standards. And then 2013, my husband and I moved back. We got married in 2013 and we moved back east. And I decided to just put all of my energy into Precision, which I had been kind of building on the side out in California. So Precision started out as just me doing choreography for different gyms. People liked what they saw in my kids and wanted me to come in. So, very common story. And the entrepreneur mind in me thought, well, it's going to sound more important if there's like a name to this. So I filed for a DBA under Precision. And even though it was still me, it was just trying to like walk the walk or talk the talk a little bit. And then, walk the walk to back it up. And then I would say I'm going to back up a little bit because in 2009, I met Alicia Sacramone and had always thought that we would be friends. I know that sounds really weird, but like I would see her on TV and I'm like, I feel like we should get along. We should be friends. So and she's from Massachusetts. She's a masshole like me. So when I finally met her, we did hit it off really well. And I kind of expressed to her like she had really great movement quality. Maybe she wasn't considered the most artistic and creative, but she owned everything that she did. And I just thought there was something there that was untapped. And I was right. We did our first choreography tour right after the Olympics in 08. So that would have been in 09. and she is phenomenal. That kind of helped me get a little credibility as well for people to see that, if she was on board with what I was doing, then, maybe there's something there. So that helped grow Precision quite a bit. Precision then turned into not just choreography, but then artistry clinics. And then I started being able to speak at different conventions and congresses, and kind of showing myself as more as a technician as well as an artistry person. So that was really great. And then that developed our clinics and then now our training camps, which is probably the biggest part of what we do. I've got some really great people working for me as contractors. So that's, again, kind of elevated the name of what we do. Everything we do still, even if it's a clinic just on bars, we still somehow find a way to implement artistry and artistry training into everything that we do. So it's kind of how it all started, it's the heart and soul of what we do. So that's kind of the journey with Precision, and where we are now is just continuing to grow choreography training camps and clinics, as well as just me individually as an educator, speaking at as many engagements as possible and doing staff consultations and coach training and all that fun stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. I've got my little questions here, but I'm going out because you talked about this. The artistry training. This is so intriguing to me. I grew up, yes, I did gymnastics, and I wouldn't say I was necessarily a gymnast. Okay, I was, but I was never good. I was fine. I was more of a dancer. I just have a passion for gymnastics. But there are so many times that I see girls go out on the floor, and it's like, sure, they're hitting the movements. They're even at our highest level, some of our national team girls, they hit the movements, it looks fine, but there's like nothing behind it. So I'm there's even just like the extension of the arms, like sure it's there, but there's no energy. And so I love that you do some of the artistic training stuff. I think that is makes such a huge difference. So talk to me, like you worked with Kyla Ross.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bring that out of them? What does that consist of? I'd be interested to be a fly on the wall at some of those.
So what I've found with athletes at the elite level, especially, is that they're so good, right? They're so perfect and they're so well trained, and their attention to detail is phenomenal. They're never really you don't explore how to do a Tkachev as an athlete. You don't try different ways to do an Aminar. You are taught how to do it. You pay attention to every step of it. You perfect it and you do it. So it's so the opposite of what we're asking for in performance. Yeah. And so what you're getting a lot of times when you see these high level athletes doing a floor routine, doing choreography, is that they are trying to do it perfectly. They're trying to fit in the box. They're trying to do it like it's quote unquote supposed to be done. And that's where you lose the artistry. That's where you lose the feeling. When you're performing and being artistic, it's almost has to be a little imperfect for it to be your own. Like if we sit here and go, okay, 3 + 3 is 6. I don't get to put my own spin on that. So that is fact. But if you and I right now, we're like, okay, let's on the count of 3, like with our hands in our face, make a flower. 1, 2, 3. We're both going to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes art. And it's okay to be wrong, even though there is no wrong in art. So that's what's really hard with athletes at that level, is that that is a foreign concept. Physiologically speaking, what I've actually seen is that if you watch great dancers, great performers, there's so much movement outside of their limbs that gymnasts don't do. A lot of gymnasts, I shouldn't say all, are arm and leg movement and sometimes some head movement. And it's all the head is at the top, the feet are at the bottom, and that's it. But if you watch a really great dancer, they could be in a straitjacket and perform beautifully. And there's actually a little girl I think it was on Dance Moms, like last year or something. This little girl, oh my goodness, she did a straitjacket performance and it was gorgeous. But it's a little creepy because I was a kid, but it was beautiful. But it's just to show like there's a whole body that can move, and every inch of the body can hit different angles and different subtleties. And many high-level athletes are almost too strong in their core to have that. I remember working with Kyla, and I wanted her to reach. And so she reached with her arm. And I'm like, no, reach a little further. And she physically could not, because her rib cage didn't have that fluidity because she's so damn strong. So we had to find other ways to make that happen. So that's physiologically speaking, sometimes it's just, they're just so strong that they don't have that,
Yes,
that
I've never thought
leeway
about
in
that.
there.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that was just really intriguing to me, because there are so many times that I'll watch a routine and I'm like, it was very good and the tricks were phenomenal, but I felt nothing, you know. So okay, that was just
Yeah.
a personal thing for me there. I love
Yeah.
that. So you've obviously gotten to work with some amazing gymnasts, and we've mentioned a couple. You had a routine in the 2016 games.
Yep.
All right, tell us how did that feel as a choreographer? Like how?
It was really cool. Not gonna lie, it's really cool. What made it more special was my subject, which was Houry Gebeshian. And another thing that made it so cool is that my husband actually did the music. So we kind of had our, yeah, that was really cool. And hopefully, I don't want to jinx anything, but hopefully it happens again with one Chellsie Memmel. We'll see. So, yeah, Houry was an athlete at the gym I was training at, and she's not quite 10 years younger than me, but you know, she's definitely like the generation before. Way better than I ever was. I mean, she was 10 and just like, I was like, where the hell did this kid come from? What is in her water? Like, holy cow, she was amazing. And she still is. So, and she's definitely she's a relationship person. You know, even though she was in the spotlight leading up to the Olympics, and it was a really big deal, like she never forgot her roots. Like she came back and competed at her home gym for her home team, like put on that leotard, and you know, like she's just she's really fantastic that way. And so when she knew that she needed choreography, you know, she came to me and she wanted to keep the connections going. And I thought that was awesome. So she trusted me with that. I think, you know, she came to me and said she can't dance. If you watch her routine, I don't know, did you get a chance to see it? You can just lie and say yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's on our YouTube channel when you get a chance. But for somebody who said that they can't dance or they're bad at dance, I don't remember exactly what her words are. It's I think she did fantastic and kind of tells the story of her journey. But yeah, when to actually see it on the floor, and even now, like just seeing the pictures, it is very surreal, and it's just even cooler that it's her.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. That's cool. I love that your husband does the music. My husband is a composer too, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I get that. Very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you touched earlier on. There's a couple things you touched earlier on that I'd love to dive into a little bit more. For one, you talked about choreographing fashion shows in Hollywood.
Yeah.
To a lot of us in the gymnastics world, that is a foreign thing. So tell us a little bit about that. What does that entail?
So it's funny that you say that, because a lot of people in the fashion show world were like, what do you mean you're going to choreograph? Like I did some weird stuff. So it was things like, I'm just trying to use one show in particular, where I gave the show had a theme. It was like the colors of summer or something like that. And so I put together an opening number, which included a drummer from Blue Man Group, who I had no business being able to hire, a dancer from, oh, I don't want to mess it up and say the wrong country, so I'm not going to say it, but she was, holy cow, just a very authentic, aggressive, confident, amazing African dancer. And then I used one of my athletes, of course. And that's something like all the time throughout my years in LA doing all this non-gymnastic stuff, I always found a way to like sneak in one of my kids. Because I just thought like they work so hard and nobody knows what they do. These little people, you know, like some of them are 8 years old training 20 hours a week or whatever and working their tails off and so dedicated. And when that meet is over, nobody that wasn't there really knows what happened. So I always try to find ways to let the world see what they can do and give them cool opportunities too. So yeah, like I, did the whole opening number. I was also a break dancer for a while. And so I incorporated some break and then the fashion show itself, just giving it transitions and then just working with the models on timing, which is not rocket science. But it's just, kind of keeping everything moving and flowing properly. But yeah, just trying to make, I looked at it as, I wouldn't have told anybody this at the time, but I could have, can I swear? Is that okay? I could have given two shits about fashion and fashion shows. But I loved the platform and I loved everything surrounding it. And so I thought I'm going to choreograph this show for somebody that got dragged here who doesn't care about fashion shows either. And so the best compliments were people just being like, that was really cool, regardless of what the show was. So.
Okay. Breakdancing. Have you ever taught any of your gymnasts breakdancing moves?
Oh, every single one of them.
I love that. That's so fun. Can you still do it?
And I have to say, there's nobody in Elite right now doing an actual butterfly. So we need to stop saying that. Just throwing it out there. It's not a horizontal side aerial. Oh, I need to get that off my chest.
We start making announcements. We gotta get the word out.
So frustrating. And I say it because when I saw it for the first time. I was like, oh, I'll just do an aerial and like not kick over the top. And they're like, no, honey, that's not what it is.
Okay. The choreography tour, you and Alicia. What all did that entail? What did you do?
We basically just hit up a string of gyms and choreographed as a bunch of athletes throughout that. So I had some jobs, but looking back, I don't know how I pulled it off, but this is a total example of talking the talk and then figuring out how to walk the walk, because I was like, holy shit, I have Alicia Sacramone and I promised her we were going to do some work together. And so I just found anybody that ever showed interest and then just strung these trips together. And it didn't hurt that I said Alicia's coming with me. They're like, oh, okay. But that was really it. We went in and we worked, with kids that were, beginner optionals all the way through, really high level kids, and just knocked out a bunch of routines over the course of about 3 weeks.
Oh, that's fun. Were you exhausted, completely mentally and physically drained after that 3 weeks?
Yes, but I was also in my early 20s. So it didn't, it was. But I've definitely learned, we don't, with Precision, I won't let any of my choreographers do more than 3 routines in one day. And if they do 3 in one day, the next day has to be 2. So you can't do back-to-back 3 days. And that really is for quality control. I don't know why you would want a choreographer on their 7th routine of the day. That doesn't. And then also for them, I value them. I want them to look forward to what they're doing and not get burned out and be able to give it, 100% every single time. So I definitely learned it from doing it myself. Yeah, pace yourself.
All right. Let's talk about the other ventures you have. Talk about Precision Choreography, but you also have my gym judge, Chellsie, correct? And then you have a venture with Alicia as well.
Yeah. Yep. So my gym judge was a very natural progression from Precision. I have a level 10 judges rating, and before I had my judging rating, I would still give feedback for routines that we would do, because I'm sure that this is a very familiar thing. A kid gets a routine, the choreographer leaves 4 or 5 months later, it doesn't quite have the same nuances, and it doesn't become the routine that maybe it was supposed to be. And that's just because it would be like if you had a bar clinician come in and do a bunch of giant drills, but then for the next 3 months the coach doesn't correct the arm bend or work on the tap. Somebody has to be upkeeping, right? To keep things progressing. So with choreography, that doesn't happen a lot. And that's why I think the routines don't stay or progress. So I was trying to find ways to, help with that. So I just was offering people to send in videos and get feedback. And just from, coaching for so long and being in gymnastics for so long, I was able to kind of give them an idea of deductions. I wasn't claiming to be a judge. I wasn't giving them scores, but was just letting them know, And even though it was supposed to be the choreography, I couldn't help myself. I'm like, well, you know, you are getting a tenth or two on height on that layout. And so then when I got my judge's rating, then was able to actually call it judging feedback. And so my gym judge then became a place where not only people that had precision routines, but people from the outside heard about it and was like, oh my gosh, we can find out why we got our score. So this has been going on for like 6 or 7 years. And then a couple of years ago, decided to take my gym judge and separate it, because there started to become other opportunities besides doing the feedback, then doing clinics, and then now these longer workshops. And it was too much under one umbrella. During all of that, Chellsie had been and still is a contractor for Precision. She was doing a lot of my gym judge feedback, and she was the one who was, you know, I would reach out to my judges and go, okay, we've got 3 routines to review. Who wants them? And she just was like knocking them out. And doing them extremely, extremely well. And then starting to come up with better systems. Like, hey, you know, I know you have the form, but I kind of came up with another one that might work better. And so she was really like just showing herself as a leader in what we were doing. So when the decision to kind of separate the business came up, I thought, well, I can't run 2 businesses by myself. I can, but it's going to be miserable for my family, and it's just not, I'm not enough. So I decided to bring her in and give her ownership over that. And I'm so happy I did. She's an incredible partner to have.
Oh, very, very fun. And then with Alicia, talk to us about your Like a Champ.
Yep. So Like a Champ started again as a little subdivision of Precision, where we created event specialized workshops devised by Alicia, run by Alicia, but it was under the Precision umbrella. It was vault, bars, and floor only. And we would, one day workshops, and they were doing really well. But again, it was something where for that to be sustainable, Alicia's family probably would not have been very happy, because it was dependent on her being there. And it was just another thing under this umbrella that was not getting all the attention it deserved. So we separated Like a Champ as well. I gave Alicia ownership. And then we just realized that it just wasn't sustainable for her to be doing this. If she had to be the one there, and you can't really put her name on it and have her not be there. So we pivoted and realized there was another need for something that I had been doing with Precision kind of on the side. Was people were coming to me a lot saying, I got a coach out of town. Do you know anybody? Or I don't know, our bars is really struggling. That, anybody that could come for a couple weeks. A lot of requests for just kind of like these short-term, almost like temp coaching is what I called it. So I had been doing that, and I been doing well at it kind of locally. Like, people knew that they could call me. I could probably find them somebody. And so I talked about that with Alicia, and we just figured, with her resources in mind, why that should be its own thing. So Like a Champ is now representation for freelance gymnastics professionals.
That's brilliant. I love that. Very good. I love that. I have a personal story here.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot get over the fact that she married Brady Quinn. I'm an Indiana girl. I grew up in Indiana. I went to college for the first 2 years in Indiana, and then I moved to Nashville. But one of my college best friends, I'm about the same age as, we might be the exact same age, me and Brady. And we went to a Notre Dame Navy game. One of my best friends was just obsessed. Sorry, Alicia. Just obsessed with it. Like, we're 18.
No, her response would be, I don't blame you. So,
and she just, I remember we're at the game, and she's like, we're going to find him after the game. I'm like, this is stalker material. No, we didn't. But every time I see her, Sacramone Quinn, I chuckle a little bit to myself. But anyway, that's just a personal story there. Okay, so do you do a lot, and you have a ton of things that you're covering now, a lot of different ventures and awesome things that you're doing for the gymnastics world. Do you do much in-person coaching anymore, or not coaching, I apologize, judging anymore?
Yeah. I mean, right now it's a little funky, but so I live in Connecticut. So I judge. What's that?
I said ignoring 2020.
I know it's almost like just forget it, that disclaimer. But in general, yeah, I judge in Connecticut, a little bit in Massachusetts, Rhode Island as well. You know, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because the reason that I don't judge as much as I have in the past is because we, you know, like you said, there's a lot of different ventures going on, and so we'll have, you know, stuff from like in October, things scheduled for the following June, and so there's just a lot of availability. And what's happening now is, you know, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and you know, I don't, if I'm going to go away for work for a weekend, I'm not going to go away the next weekend.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you know, you have to set kind of certain guidelines to make sure that there's a nice balance. So when those things are booked and then I got to judge, it's like the stars have to align to make it all work. But it is very important to me to continue to do that, especially locally. You know, you want where you live to be the best possible, and be able to be a part of that. So try to do it as much as I can. You know, with my gym judge, it's really cool to get the opportunity to judge all over. We just launched our virtual meets, which has been really cool. So they get in true my gym judge fashion, not only do they get judged, they get feedback after the meet. They get video feedback. So yeah, we've got our first international one coming up in February, which is cool. So, you know, getting to judge a lot, just not in the traditional way as much.
Oh no, I love that. Okay, well we have to dive into Chellsie. She's the big name taking over the gymnastics world right now. So you are choreographing her comeback floor routine, correct? Mm-hmm. How is that? Is that okay? Is that weird now since you're colleagues as well?
I don't think so. I don't know. I can't speak for her, but you know, I feel like it's I don't know if it's because Andy's her coach and she just knows how to separate relationships when it comes to gymnastics, but
true.
You know, it's like when we do our sessions for her choreography, like, so I choreographed her routine already. Like, she learned the choreography, and then once a week we get together and just keep tweaking and fine tuning and adding nuances. So, you know, when we do those sessions, in true Chellsie training fashion, they're not super long and drawn out, but they're consistent and they're frequent. So we'll meet for like 20 minutes or 45 minutes and just, you know, knock it out. And the discussions during that session are only about what we're doing. When it's over, we might be like, oh, so are we meeting tomorrow about that, you know, that workshop? And that's it. Like, it's very much, you know, choreographer and athlete. There's definitely, you know, she's an adult and she knows her, you know, she knows what she can do. She knows what she can handle. She knows what it's going to feel like when she has to tumble. So that stuff's, you know, that's a cool experience to be able to work with somebody that's just so in tune with what they need. But I will say, girl can move. I don't know if people realized that, but
oh my gosh, I can't.
She really can. She really can. She gets subtleties and she's got good instincts. She just doesn't think that she does. So when you all see it, we gotta reinforce that. Let her know she looks great.
It's like every time I watch a video, I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when she kind of said, I'm gonna do this, I'm coming back?
No, I was surprised how long it took, because I told you she's been working with Precision in our events. So the summer before she announced, so I guess last summer, right? Would that be when it was?
I've lost track of life. Like,
I know. I feel like so it started the year before. Like, we always, you know, because we're all former gymnasts on staff. So, you know, like, I remember vividly being in Vermont and her and I getting up on beams and doing popas, and hers was far superior to mine. But I was like, hey, you're you, I'm me. At least, you know, come on, give me a little something. But I just remember like looking at her and going, how are you 7 feet in the air off a beam and you haven't done this in so long? How are your feet all the way around? Like something, I just remember going, what? There's something weird there in a very good way. And then that following summer, she's really getting into just working out, just wanting to feel athletic again. And that's a, really common thing with when you have kids. You're just like, I need myself back. I need to not be, the person that's just responsible for like feeding and helping you sleep. Like I need my own thing. And so she started working out and getting strong. And of course, her gym was the place to work out. And so how do you not start doing handstands and stuff? But we would be at camps and like the random popa on beam turned into like legit stuff. We were in New Hampshire and she did her first public Tamayo off a tumble track into the pit. And all of us that were there, like our jaws dropped. Like that was not an open pike double Arabian. That is a Tamayo. That is a complete front layout. And that moment, I was like, she is on her own level. And then it just, every camp after that, she just started doing more and more stuff. And what we learned is that Chellsie can't say no to a challenge.
That's how I would break.
Oh yeah. It's so funny. So we just started messing with her. Like she was on the line doing like, it was like side aerial layout, step out, just playing, quote unquote. And we're like, Chellsie, that high beam's like, it was like a little wider than a regular high beam, not much, maybe like a half an inch on each side or something. You should probably do it up there, if you feel like you can, and within 5 minutes. First it was, I can't do that. And then she's nailing them like 3 in a row. So it's just funny. Like you and I see Andy doing that too. In the video, just kind of taunting her a little bit, but it's like, if you plant that seed, she's like, can't help herself and has to do it. So be careful what you say.
Oh my gosh. Obviously you're working with her on floor. What would you say at this second is her strongest event?
Well, she had a little ankle thing that's getting better. So
that's pre-ankle thing.
I mean, probably beam looks like, the easiest if you were to be like, oh, you have to compete tomorrow, like probably beam. I mean, that dismount is like,
she makes everything look easy.
Legit. Yeah. I've never seen somebody flip so fast in a pike. So, I don't know. I mean, we all know her for bars and, months ago or less than a year ago, bars was out of the question, and now she's catching Hindorfs and they're higher than they ever were. So
20 feet off the bar.
I'm going to say at this time next year, rings is her strongest event. Like,
you know what? Challenged her to that one because it blow us all away. Obviously, this is a super hard quad. Well, okay, can you say quad? 2021 now, but whatever. And okay, technically there's 4 spots, but let's be realistic. We got Simone, so there's 3 spots up for grabs. The whole world's rooting for her to get one of those spots, obviously. But if she doesn't, and I want her to, but if she doesn't, do you think she'll continue competing just, for the love of the sport, or is that?
I don't think that would make her. She's not doing it to get to the Olympics.
Yeah.
She's doing it because she freaking can. And wouldn't you?
Oh,
damn. So, like making something, being on that stage again, whether it's, oh my God, I almost said at the ranch. Whether it's being with the national team, making a team, being at championships, being at trials, being in Olympic. I mean, any of that, I think, just from my, the conversations I've had with her and the interviews she's given, she's very open about it, is that's going to be incredible. That's going to be something she, didn't think was ever going to happen. So I can't see her being like, oh, I didn't make the Olympics, I'm done. Because that's not why I started.
So fun. Well, I love her story. I love you guys working together on all that. It's pretty amazing. Couple fun tidbits I need you to explain.
Okay.
You can't put your arms over your head.
Nope. I mean, I can put them up, but That's it.
Huh. Has it always,
Yep.
has it always been like that? Or
Yeah. And you know what's funny is I did Heelys like that. Oh, yeah, it was bad. So
I'm so intrigued by this.
it's always been that way. I mean, even as I was little, I was like super, super strong little kid, but like just my shoulder, my leg flexibility like was awesome. Like you wouldn't know. But I could never have a straight shoulder angle. It's terrible. So one of the things that I you got to kind of use your situation, right? It's not like, I mean, it could be a lot worse, right? But I love when people are surprised, because that means, my coaches did a good job, and, hopefully I'm doing a good job, because there are a lot of kids out there that have weaknesses, but they have heart, And so like through my gym judge, we do these presentations for parents and for kids, just talking about non-value part deductions and the importance of footwork and posture and flexibility and artistry in your routines, and what that adds up to. So when they find out that overall flexibility and posture in their choreography is worth 3/10, you can see the kids that are tight going like, oh. So I explain all that, and then I show them my arms and I say, I didn't get that deduction. And they're like, what do you mean you didn't get that deduction? Because I learned that was a deduction, and then I played the game. And gymnastics is a game. There's no reason to show the judge your weaknesses. You get out there, you show them all the things that make you amazing, and then you work on your weaknesses in the gym until you're ready to show them. But down to the way I would salute the judge, it was just here and done. Like, nothing to see here. I had a coach, she's from China, and she was the first one to kind of teach that to me. When I went to her, I was like 14. And I was doing choreography, and she was like, get your arms down. And I was like, what did I do wrong? And she's like, if you're not on bars or tumbling, don't ever put your arms over your head. All my choreography was just all in here. Nobody had a clue. I mean, when I was younger, they did, but once I learned that, it was like, so I like to be able to impart that on kids too. Like, you're not stuck. You just learn the rules and then work your way around them a little bit.
Showcase yourself. Absolutely. I love
But
that.
then to work with Chellsie, who, her shoulders are like, half our session, I'm like, this is where I am, but like, you do your thing.
Okay. And this is just intriguing to me. So breakdancing, what made you go there? What made you learn to breakdance and be a part of all that?
Unfinished business, probably. I wasn't like, I've never claimed to be, I was not an amazing gymnast. I never claimed to be. Had my strengths, but like, so when I was done, I had to stop because, surprise, surprise, shoulders were screwed up, and it was leading to other issues. So I just didn't have the career I thought I was going to have in college. I didn't get to compete in college. And so during those years, just had a little bit of an identity crisis, and was finding different ways, whether it was like in plays or just different opportunities to tumble, or, I'd be on Craigslist all the time. Like, is anybody looking for a gymnast to do, whatever. So I was just looking for stuff all the time. And then I was at Northeastern, and I saw this group rehearsing, and they were doing like a step thing, like a stomping, and I don't know what it's called. I'm terrible, but they were doing that. And then these break dancers came out, and I was like, what the hell is that? And why can't I do it? And I walked right in there. I was like, what are you guys doing? And they were getting ready for, it was like an award show or something, like a local award show. And I was like, do you guys need somebody to tumble? And then, the director was like, get out of here. We've been doing this for months. Like, we're all set. But then for some reason, I don't know what I said. And he looked at me. It was just like out of Bring It On. Right. Remember when she's like, well, can you do round off, back handspring, step out, da, 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 da. And she's like, well, how about blah, 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 full. So I just remember being like, well, instead of cartwheel back handspring, I did aerial back handspring full, blah, 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 and did it and got in the show as a tumbler, but was like fascinated by these break dancers, and totally like, was like a little like, show me another thing. Can I try this? Can I try that? And they thought I was fun because I could flip and they could teach me stuff. So then I started going to their practices. They invited me. It was the Boston Floor Lords. And I started going to their practices. I was never good enough to be up on stage. I had to be down at the ground. And then eventually they started inviting me up on the stage. Then I started being able to go, they weren't really battles. They were shows, look like battles. Got to do some of those, but the problem was I couldn't not prep for things. Like breakdance is supposed to be, you're not supposed to plan what you do, which I planned everything. You're supposed to just, fluidly, it's all improv. It's same thing, it's one of the elements of hip hop, like freestyle rap. It's the same thing. It's supposed to have that same feeling. I couldn't do that. I would like here and then go. And they're like, you are not breakdancing. Like you're doing tricks, but you're not. So I had my run. I got to do some really cool stuff. But I didn't quite, I don't know. I couldn't unpretty stuff well enough, I guess, to do it long enough.
Couldn't unpretty it. Yeah. I get that. That's funny. If you had to, and I won't put this on if you don't want me to, if you had to right now pick the 2021 4-member team for women's gymnastics going to Tokyo, who would you pick?
Well, it's hard because I don't know exactly how everybody's doing.
Yeah.
That's really hard. I would say now what's really hard is like, so Jade Carey has her individual.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, that girl can do everything.
Yeah, she's incredible.
You can write her own ticket as far as I'm concerned. But so if you take that aside, because I don't totally understand, like, so if she doesn't take that spot, nobody else can. And so, or is she going to turn down the team? But if we forget all of that, I would love to see her. I just want to see her at the Olympics. I don't really care where it is. I guess Simone. Just kidding. Definitely Simone. Chellsie Memmel. They're so amazing. And now Connor McLean is eligible.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah, it's heard. Riley, would love to see her have a successful, time. Yeah, that's a really hard question. But I would say, Chellsie Memmel. That's my answer.
Yeah, for all spots, all the spots, all the things.
And yeah, she can be the coach. She can be the captain.
Yeah. And then she's going to judge them all at the end.
And then she can judge them all. Exactly. The whole U.S. delegation is Chellsie Memmel.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nicole. And thank you for everything you're doing in gymnastics and giving everybody chances to be as good as they can be. It's just awesome. So I appreciate it.